Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Princeton, where in our open and welcoming community, we live our message of hope, love, justice, and joy. If you're visiting with us, we're really happy that you've joined us this morning. We'd love to get to know more about you after the service. So if you haven't already, please stop by the newcomer table so that we can give you a good and proper welcome and add you to our e-list so that we can invite you to all of the different programs and events and ministries that we have going on here at UU Princeton. And there are a bunch of them. The next one is after worship this morning. As part of our March membership program, we'll have an introduction to UU Princeton and to what membership in our congregation means. That'll be at 11:45 for an hour in the Murray room, which is on the other end of the building down there. That's after worship today. Also, if you look in happenings, you'll see a couple of announcements we'd love to draw to your attention. The first is that we are collecting candy donations for our Sprig Egg Hunt until next Sunday, April 6th. There's a table right out there in Robinson Lounge where you can get more info. Due to allergies, we're asking for no nuts, no seeds or nut butters. Vegan options are always appreciated, and we're hoping that they're candies that can fit inside those little eggs there. But you can get more information at the table after worship. Lots of candy is needed, and it's by next Sunday is when we need all that stuff to come together. Also, after worship today, you're invited to help the Women's Alliance assemble post-abortion care kits. That's in the Founders Room. All are welcome to help with this project. Many hands make light work for this very meaningful cause, and we're so grateful to the Women's Alliance for affording us all the opportunity to help with that. And lastly, you'll see in happenings as well that the spring sale is coming up. It's about a month away. This is a huge congregational event where we raise well over $20,000 that we give to different local nonprofits and groups that do great work in our community. The spring sale, it takes approximately about 10,000 people to make that happen. So you are needed. If you can help in any way, shape, or form with the spring sale, please stop by the table in Robinson. Emma will be there to welcome you and receive you and let you know, she's waving her hand in the back there, and let you know how you can be a help of that wonderful event that we have every year. As our annual stewardship drive continues, we're so grateful to everyone who has already made a generous financial pledge to our congregation for the upcoming year. Everything that we offer one another is in the world is created by those pledges, and we thank you deeply for supporting our community, our message, and our mission. We have a special treat to share a little bit about our stewardship life this morning as we welcome Carol Allen to the pulpit. Carol has been a member of our congregation for 60 years, 60 years. So we're so grateful to Carol for everything that she has offered Princeton for the last 60 years. And please come on up and share some words with us.
Good morning, everybody, dear friends. And also hi to fellow Zoomers out there. I'm Carol Allen, and I've been a member of this church since the early 1960s. I retired from state government work, and I'm now active in the Coalition for Peace Action. My message to you starts with, there's an old song, some of you may know it, "The best things in life are free." Many of these best things happen right here at the UU congregation of Princeton. The way we care about each other, support the wider community, and try to protect the planet Earth. Just think of all that goes on here. People serve on committees that do buildings and grounds, gardening, serving coffee, providing brunches and social activities, newcomers table, trustee leadership and planning, the multifaceted religious education program, and of course, the wider UU denomination, including UUA General Assembly in Baltimore this June. And you can participate in special interest groups like the choirs, covenant groups, pagans, yoga, meditation, book groups, the New Men's Group, Women's Alliance, and forums for addressing important social issues. These activities reflect our values. They are really the best things in life. Friendship, knowledge, inspiration, understanding, caring. In my many years as a member of UUCP, I have experienced that what holds it all together is this Sunday morning service. We get inspiring messages, great music, programs for children, and we get to sing, recite creeds, light candles, and then, after service, fellowship and discussion. Okay, so it's not really all free. There are maintenance and personnel costs. So we have to have a pledge drive. Let's do a simple economic analysis. Now, I ask you to view the return value to $1 given to UUCP compared to the return on any other expenditure or to any investment on Wall Street. UUCP returns the greatest value. Blessed be.
I'm an atheist, and that's it. I believe there's nothing we can know except that we should be kind to each other and do what we can for other people. Katharine Hepburn.
Pleased to invite all the young and young at heart up to the front for our time together this morning, which will lead to our Stardust blessing.
Yeah.
Wow. Ooh. Those are,
It wakes me up every week.
oh yeah. Those are young knees that can do that sliding on the floor like that. From our unison affirmation this morning, Carl Sagan's daughter, Sasha, wrote that her father famously said that we are the stuff of stars. What Sasha said is that her father and her mother really came up with that sentiment, as well as much of what was in Carl Sagan's work. They came up with it together. Carl's name was usually on it. And he meant that we are the stuff of stardust, alive because of the same forces that produce the stars. He meant that we are one unique expression of unimaginable energy and material that allows us to live and serve and love one another. We are the universe growing in our understanding of ourselves and everyone else. And just as we are connected all to one another, we are connected to everything that is everywhere. This means that when you see the sun in the daytime, we are the same stuff as the sun. When you see the stars at night, we are one with them. With all life, with all beauty, with all mystery, with all that is, we are more alike than unalike. For we are all stardust, each and all of us, and we are connected at every level.
So when I think of stars, I think of one of the first songs I learned when I was little. And maybe you know it as well. It goes like this. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. So, Reverend Bill said a little earlier, we are made up of star stuff, the stuff of stars. So that means we can imagine that we too, if we're like stars, twinkle. And we can imagine that we have sparkly stardust in us that twinkles too. Do you know what else that I love that twinkles and sparkles? Glitter. Glitter. So do you know what we're gonna put on today? Glitter. In a moment, we're gonna have a stardust blessing, and we're going to imagine that the glitter is a twinkle of stardust, that each and every person contains that twinkle, the light of the universe, the light of creation, and as you use believe, the light of love. And the glitter that we're going to put on our hands is an outward way. It's something outside that we can remember about the light in us. So if you want some, and I think a few of you might want some, Reverend Bill and myself and Isabella are going to roll on glitter on the back of your hands. And then you get to each help, if you would like, with the stardust blessing of everyone else in the congregation. And then again, we're going to remember that what did we say before? That the glitter on the outside is a reminder of our inside, our light inside, of our personal light inside, and the light inside every other person too. So let's first, if you can line up either in front of Isabella or in front of me or in front of Reverend Bill. We've got a few people. Oh, you've taken one out for us already. Thank you so much. You are made of stardust. Blessed be. Oh, would you like some too? You are made of stardust. Blessed be. You are made of stardust. You'll have to ask Reverend Bill. Blessed be. You are made of stardust. Blessed be. Do you want some on your other hand? Reverend Bill got it. Is there anyone else that didn't get their stardust yet that would like some? All right. So we then invite you, members of the congregation, if you would like a stardust blessing, to come forward. And if you would like to be someone that helps to bless our congregation, you can come and and we might have to share. We might have to share so everyone who wants to help gets a turn. So if you want to get a turn, you can come over with Reverend Bill, with me, or with Isabella.
Good morning. It should come as no surprise to you, considering the theme of today's service, that I am an atheist, and I'm very brave. I was not raised an atheist. Both sides of my family are Catholic, and I attended Catholic school from kindergarten through 12th grade. We had regular religion classes as part of the curriculum. I was an altar server. I sang in the choir and served as a cantor at Mass. I wrote and performed in many Stations of the Cross this time of year. And so for many of my formative years, being a good Catholic girl was a key part of my identity. But most of that religious education came from school, not home. At school, we went to Mass every Tuesday without fail. At home, we were one of those Christmas and Easter families that the parish priests were always railing against, or rather, Christmas, Easter, and grandparent visits. My father is a germaphobe, so when we did attend Mass, we never drank from the communal wine chalice during communion. And after we shook hands at the sign of peace, he would pull out baby wipes for all of us to wash up. Now, this was pre-COVID, so we got a lot of dirty looks for that. My mother, meanwhile, expressed a less than perfect adherence to the doctrine of the church. I remember one evening sitting on the couch with her watching TV when she made some joke about people who didn't believe in evolution. Now, this was back in the teach the controversy days of creationism and intelligent design at schools. So for her to tell her young Catholic school children that we were not, in fact, descended from Adam and Eve, but from some common monkey ancestor was a scandal. So as much as I thought I was a good Catholic, there was skepticism in the air at home, and my classmates could sense it. Now, maybe it's because I preferred Jesus Christ Superstar to the Passion of the Christ. Maybe it's because I commented once to my friends that the Gospels mention Jesus having brothers, which throws the virgin birth into question. Whatever reason, my senior year of high school, one of my friends inscribed my yearbook to Isabella the Blasphemer. Now, oh, thank you. It is a badge of honor. Thank you. Now, a few years ago, Pope Francis gave a sermon in which he said it was better to be an atheist than a bad Christian. I clearly came to that conclusion too. I had a lot of internal conflict about this, but long story short, by my sophomore year of college, I had decided what I believed, or rather what I didn't believe. No God or gods, no afterlife, no soul. Around this time, I overheard my grandfather, who didn't know I was an atheist, say that atheists couldn't be moral people, that you need to believe in the rewards and punishments of heaven and hell to keep you from sin. Obviously, I disagreed, and I imagine that most of you here, regardless of your thoughts on God and the afterlife, probably disagree too. It's a pretty bleak view of human nature. Fear isn't what's keeping me from sinning. I want to live in a world where people treat each other with compassion and respect, but I don't think I'm going to find that world in a heaven. I believe our existence on earth is the only one we have or ever will. So if we want another kind of society, it's urgent. Time is ticking. Now, many people find comfort in Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s hopeful sentiment that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Now, keep an open mind here. But that line never really spoke to me. As an atheist, and as a historian, actually, I agree with this much of it. The arc of the moral universe is long. Full stop. I am not trying to be flippant. My issue is just the idea that the arc is eventually going to bend on its own, or that God will put his finger on the scale. As an atheist, I believe that nothing can bend that arc toward justice but our individual and communal action. Because when you don't believe in God, you have to believe in people. For me, that takes more faith than I had before I was an atheist. I no longer think that human beings are made in the image of God. I don't even think that we're innately good. So believing that we imperfect animals descended from apes and accidentally conscious can create that just, compassionate world is a hard sell. And I would love to think that there's another way. But I lost my faith in a higher power quite some time ago. And the only power I believe in is ours. Thank you.
Our first reading this morning is a poem titled The Conditioner by Ada Limon. The Conditional. Say tomorrow doesn't come. Say the moon becomes an icy pit. Say the sweet gum tree is petrified. Say the sun's a foul black tire fire. Say the owl's eyes are pinpricks. Say the raccoon's a hot tar stain. Say the shirt's plastic ditch litter. Say the kitchen's a cow's corpse. Say we never get to see it. Bright future, stuck like a bum star, never coming close, never dazzling. Say we never meet her, meet him. Say we spend our last moments staring at each other, hands knotted together, clutching the dog, watching the sky burn. Say it doesn't matter. Say that would be enough. Say you'd still want this, us alive, right here, feeling lucky. And our second reading is the poem Being Wrong by Alison Luterman. One of the great unheralded joys of late middle age is the mind-popping sensation of how many things I've been wrong about, starting with sex, my parents, and the meaning of the word bruschetta, then gliding on seamlessly to men, marriage, and magic mushrooms. All my firmly held opinions have loosened like teeth in receding gums, or pilings that an indifferent sea has pounded into submission for centuries. What a relief to have been wrong about gluten-free pasta and skinny jeans, gender and white privilege. I suspect I've been wrong about pretty much everything, including death, which will come for everyone except me. I would like to thank Angela Colva for this morning's sermon topic. This topic was auctioned away at last year's fellowship auction. If you're the highest bidder, you get to pick what I preach on at some point in the year, and this was the 2024 topic. Thank you, Angela, for such a rich and important topic. It's been fun to dive into this one. So this is the 2024. I'm always behind on this, so I owe Judy V the 2025 one as well. So if you see two auction sermons in short order, that's why I'm trying to get caught up. Judy has asked for a sermon that you'll hear coming up on UU understandings of the Buddhist concept of enlightenment. And I thought that's a good sort of small picture of who we are, that we have atheism in one auction and then UU concepts of enlightenment. And the next one, we'll see what the 2026 topic is. Maybe it's along those lines too. It's kind of fun to think about that sometimes. Thank you again. And Judy, yours is coming. Once there was a woman whose time had come. She had lived a long and good life, had enjoyed many decades of friendship and fulfillment, and had a family that stretched on for generations. She was a teacher in her day and had taught not only most of the town's children their ABCs, but had kept on tutoring after her retirement. Whenever a child was having a difficult time with their lessons, she would meet them after school in the library and help them learn. She found meaning in her work, joy in her family, and friendship in her community. Her life had been long, was well lived, and was full of meaning. And so when the angel visited her and let her know that it was time to go to heaven, she was really at peace, mostly at peace. She couldn't help thinking about the student she was currently tutoring who just needed a few more lessons to keep up. She asked the angel to come back at the end of the term so that she could keep helping her student just a little bit longer. The angel paused, but then easily agreed and became a bird that flew off into the clouds. Sure enough, at the end of the term, the angel came back and said, "Now it's time." And the teacher was ready, almost ready. For in the meantime, a family had moved in from a different land and they needed extra help in getting situated. Not only the children either, the adults needed help learning the language and figuring out how things worked and putting their homes and lives together. The teacher had already started helping them, and she didn't want to leave now before that work was done. This was going to take longer, though, so she asked the angel to come back in a year. The angel smiled and agreed and became a butterfly who disappeared among the flowers. A year later, when the angel returned, the family was all settled and the teacher had no students to tutor. The angel approached her and said, "Now looks like a good time." And the teacher said, "It is a good time. It's a really good time. Except that we just decided to build this new school, a bigger one with more resources and possibilities. We have to raise money. We have to come up with plans. We have to keep the current school going while we plan and build the new one. It's going to take everyone pitching in to make that happen, including me. And it'll take a while, but in 5 years or so, we should be good. The new school will be finished or close enough. So can you come back in 5? The angel laughed and said, "Of course," before coming a fox who ran off into the brush. Well, to everyone's surprise, the school finished early. It only took 4 years. And the teacher knew that she had been granted grace 3 times and didn't want to push it. She could certainly think of many more ways to serve, to build, to teach, and to love her community, but she knew that her time had come. Indeed, an angel had told her that 3 times now. And she was indeed ready, or as ready as she would ever be. So she closed her eyes and whispered words to the angel, saying that it had not been 5 years yet, but if it was her time, she was ready. At that moment, she had no students to tutor, no families to help, and no school to build. And at that moment, the angel appeared, and the teacher said, "I'm ready to go to heaven now if heaven will still have me." And the angel smiled lovingly and said, "You're finally ready to go to heaven. Where do you think you've been this whole time? Your family, your friends, your community, work that is meaningful, service to offer, good things to build. This is your heaven. You've been here since my first visit. And the teacher laughed and breathed deeply, and having learned her lesson, went off to find another student to teach. The framework of that story comes courtesy of Megan McKenna, a prolific author and storyteller of today. She presents it as a modern parable, and I've dressed it in very different clothing for our time together this morning. Her story is of a blacksmith, not a teacher, and the visits and details are different, but common is the plot. Death comes and heaven awaits, but paradise is postponed so that some good work of service and love can continue. The aim of many Western religious traditions, an afterlife of paradise, is relocated on this earth and presented as so similar to everyday life that for those living full lives, even the elect can't tell the difference. Heaven and the earth are one. The afterlife is now. This is what is to come. American Universalism kind of stumbled into a similar claim, separate and distinct from Unitarianism. The Universalists at first claimed that God's love was so great that all souls return to God at some point in existence. There would be no eternal damnation, for God's love in the end brings everyone home. That was a reformation itself that was then reformed into the belief that there is no period of separation from the source after death. God's love redeems all immediately. Heaven starts right after one's final breath. Perdition was not to be abandoned as a concept, however. It was too endemic in Western religion. And so it was reimagined to be something that is experienced in this world, on this earth. Hell was guilt and shame and a kind of self-caused isolation and loneliness. It was this inner result of prideful living, of greed, of judging others and contributing to the ruination of the world. Hell is the dehumanizing sense that we feel when we dehumanize someone else or other people. This reimagined domesticated hell unsurprisingly led to a reimagined domesticated heaven in which all the good stuff was felt and known on this earth as well. The afterlife, which was the original defining characteristic of universalism, was over time de-emphasized, both the good place and the bad place. And the religious life became centered on creating more heaven-like and eradicating more hell-like conditions on this earth. And whatever led one to lead that kind of life over time became acceptable and even welcome in American Universalism. The faith became spiritually diverse, for that which helped people create a more beloved community here and now would be welcomed as long as it didn't need to be the sole framework for everyone. Diversity began to mean diversity and not compete and conquer. And insofar as diverse approaches could find common cause in creating a better world, diversity would not only be passively welcomed, but actively developed within universalism. And over time, this meant that many atheists who wanted to work with others to build a better world and who were inclined to find spiritual diversity interesting and meaningful found universalism to be a good home. There was also a common emphasis on freedom and reason promoted in universalism, but promoted more centrally in Unitarianism at the same time, which was also changing from focusing on the nature of the Godhead to focusing on the kind of world we're building. Both were progressive, both were expanding theologically, and both over time for similar and different reasons, and certainly not always easily nor without conflict, became faiths that welcomed the kind of ethical atheism that sought to make life better on earth for more and more people, that valued reason and freedom, and that appreciated and found interesting different spiritual and ethical approaches to ordering one's life and commitments. That was a lightning fast survey that leaves out far more than it includes about how two separate denominations in America moved to embrace atheism, a curious journey in broader American religious history. And by the time those two denominations joined and formed one new association, which is what we have today, that embrace had turned into part of our standard identity. Atheism and agnosticism were well established in the faith that I joined in the 90s. They were kind of dominant, really. I remember thinking it was cool back then that people with such different beliefs would form a religion that would serve the world. I thought it was cool. People close to me thought it was kind of strange, but I've always liked kind of strange, so it worked for me. I could see that it was still tricky to practice the embrace of spiritual diversity. We all sometimes listen to hear some things and not to hear others. And I had my own particular sensitivities then and still do now, and they still guide my responses. I'm grateful for all that mindfulness stuff that I've learned to do over the recent years. It's often pretty boring, kind of a boring practice, to be honest, but the practice pays off when it really matters. The discipline delivers when you need it the most, but it's kind of a lot of sitting and waiting for a timer to ding until then. I saw that embrace of atheism as countercultural then because of how atheism was unfairly viewed. Now, perhaps more because of how religion is viewed. When faith leaders endorse policies that demand the poverty of many, the deaths and sufferings of the masses, the degradation of the earth, fascism over freedom, the tyranny of the majority, and the eventual oppression of every minority, atheism is clearly not the problem in America. It's the hypocrisy of religious leaders who leverage faiths of peace, forgiveness, service, and humility into gospels of death and destruction. For their voices proclaim the existence of a God that no one should believe in, no one should serve, and before whom no one should bow down. It is better to have no God in your life than a God who demeans you, who hates your neighbor, who wishes war upon you and your children. That God is nothing more than the worst of our human impulses. It's too cozy with great power. It's opportunistic. It's market-led. It's a shallow meme without merit. It proclaims Caesar to be divine, and it is nothing more than sin sold as the sacred. And insofar as ethical atheism awakens us to the freedom of turning from something profane towards something healthy and whole, atheism itself is sacred. And insofar as atheism deepens our appreciation of reason and questioning and searching for truth, permanent or passing, it is sacred. And moreover, for some, the idea of God detracts from that very pursuit. For some, God is necessary in that pursuit. For others, not needed at all. For many, God is an idea to explore, a metaphor in which to find comfort and challenge, a presence that is felt differently throughout life and sometimes not at all. For some, it's never felt. And what one finds in God, another will find in the natural world, in art, in science, in teaching and learning, in practices of kindness and generosity. Insofar as ethical atheism helps all find beauty and meaning in the human endeavors of the intellect and art and performance and compassion, it is sacred. Atheism then becomes a framework of deep and immediate gratitude for the goodness that is right now, just as it provides the energy for working to counter the profane also right now. For it places the blessings of appreciating and alleviation upon our shoulders, with only the guidance and strength of one another to fall back upon. Of all the many kinds of atheism there is in the world, that kind is the most demanding. It asks and needs a lot, for all the good there is to create is ours to create together. This positive atheism is ever present in the world and in our faith. It seeks to build, to cure, and to make better. It seeks the good as its own ethical end, not as a lead-in to a particular afterlife experience, not for the pleasure of creator, sustainer, or redeemer. It is moved by the human condition. It feels and knows pain and fear and works for less of each. It has a sense of fairness and justice. It knows right and wrong and works with others to build more of what is right. This atheism is also curious, and it seeks wisdom. It can be funny and irreverent. It can take itself too seriously sometimes, and sometimes has trouble playing well with others, but so too does every religion. Everyone takes themselves too seriously sometimes, and sometimes we all have trouble playing with others. There are times when we all need to work on that. And this positive atheism sometimes flows from that more reactive one, the one that is a rejection of that which should be rejected, before it becomes an embrace of an ethical framework that binds our lives to everyone else's and has us live in one another's interests. This positive atheism is more than a rejection, though it begins that way for some. It becomes an assertion that we are here and that we can bless one another and build a better world, and moreover, that we are called to do so by the common good, by the dreams of our ancestors and the hopes of our children. For some, God does source all of that. For some, not at all. For many, that whole question is still one of exploration. But in the meantime, we will all roll up our sleeves and build the world that we can now in this one life that we have that gives us love and one another. This unites us and brings us together and brings meaning and joy to our lives. Kurt Vonnegut, a writer who was also an atheist and also a Unitarian Universalist, once wrote words that speak to this kind of ethic of the positive atheist and the positive proponent of any faith, really, when he wrote that people say that there are no atheists in foxholes. A lot of people think this is a good argument against atheism. He concluded, personally, I think it's a much better argument against foxholes. That which threatens life, the violence of war, the terror of battle, the destruction of grace, that is what we are all struggling against. Not the atheism in which some find meaning and peace, not the beliefs in which some find perspective and succor, not the assurance of God or the insistence of such an absence, not the diversity in thought about what happens when this life ends. All those differences are fine, shared in love, rooted in personal stories, and offered as motivations for how we bless the world. All those differences add beauty and strength to our faith and our communities. Diversity in the foxhole is not the problem. The problem is the foxhole. May we, of all faiths and no faith, of sound ethics and expanding curiosity, come together on working on the end of needing those foxholes. May we work together in all of our diversity with good and grateful and enduring spirit. May it be so, and amen. And at the end of our hour, we extinguish our chalice, knowing that its light carries us until we gather again. Go forth grateful for the moments before you, the breath within you, the people among you, and the Spirit guiding you toward lives of love and kindness. And go forth knowing that you are held always and always with everyone else by that great love of no beginning and never ending. Go in peace, and amen.